Well, hey everybody, it is great to see you today. Welcome to your online Bible study, Living Power. This is February 8th, and we are in the book of Exodus, and we are at a very special time. We are walking with the Israelites and have just been taken out of slavery. We have seen the plagues, we have seen God's mighty hand parting the Red Sea and getting us out of bondage. He is leading us through the wilderness, and today we are going to be climbing up the mountain, and we are going to see God. This is a very exciting time, a very new time in the life of Israel, and I'm excited that you are joining me today as we relive this experience in the wilderness. Today I have entitled the lesson Climbing the Mountain, and I'd like us to focus on Exodus 24 verse 1, where it says, "Come on up here. Come on up here to me." And the Lord is speaking that to Moses, and I believe He is speaking that to each one of us today. If you are just now finding us online, I want to welcome you and tell you how excited I am that you're here. I hope you will subscribe to the online Bible study by going to shannonmullins.com, going to the online Bible study page, and you can receive these video teachings every weekday by email, and they'll come directly to you. So I hope you will decide to join us and walk with us this year. Yesterday we talked about the Ten Commandments, and we learned that God does desire us to be holy. Today we are going to see how the Israelites responded, and we are going to receive an invitation of our own to climb up the mountain and fellowship with the Lord. In our reading today, God is giving Moses a series of laws, commandments, and regulations in how these people are to live before the Lord and with one another. He's creating a new nation and laying the foundation of the nation. He is creating a people unto Himself and teaching them His ways and ultimately how to be holy. There are a couple promises today I didn't want you to miss in chapter 23, starting with verse 20. It says, "I have prepared a place for you." Verse 21, "I will send a representative to you." Verse 22, "If you obey what He tells you, I will be on your side and will lead you in to the promised land." I just can't help but see the parallel in God sending Jesus as His representative to us, that if we believe and trust in Him, we are reconciled to God, and God then leads us into our promised land. What a blessing. What a great promise. Just a great reminder of that today. Now, in also chapter 23, verse 29, I want to show you something that is really amazing, an answer to a question that I bet you have had in your life, and I know I have had in my life. It comes to us today, chapter 3, verse 29. Now, here's the setting. Yesterday, I gave you a picture of this part of Egypt and the way God is leading them out of Israel. They're going southeast down the Sinai Peninsula, and then they're going to go back northeast a long way into the Promised Land. And if you look at that map, you probably wonder, well, there was an easier way, a shorter way that God could have directed them. I wonder why God led them down this way. Well, I want to remind us today that God has a plan for our life. He has a purpose, and He has a reason for doing things. And, you know, God's timing in our life is perfect. He's never early. He's never late. He is always on time. And I think this has an application for our lives today, that we would just remember that whenever we are frustrated with answered prayer, maybe that's not being answered enough, we wish it would be answered quicker. Whenever we're frustrated with the events of our life, we don't think things are moving fast enough or the pace that we would like them to go, hear this reason that God gives the Israelites for the pace at which he is about to do some miraculous things and why it's so important that he does it in this way. So here as we're reading, God is telling them, I'm going to drive out the people in this land, and I'm going to help you move into this land, and I'm going to give this land to be your very own. But here in verse 29, but I will not drive them out in a single year. I'm not going to answer all of your prayers at once. I am not going to cause all of these things to happen in your life all at once, because it says, because the land would become desolate, and the wild animals that live there now would multiply and would threaten you. So the Lord is saying, I could have moved you in a different direction, Israelites, and taken you on a different path. But this is my way of protecting you. Because if I had done that the way that seems easiest, the way that seems simplest, you would have not been protected, and harm would have come to you. So trust the pace of your life as I lead you. Trust the pace that I am guiding you, and trust how I am doing things. Now, as we see in chapter 24, I want us to focus primarily on chapter 4. And here is the verse for today. The Lord is instructing Moses, come on up here and climb up the mountain and bring some friends. You can bring Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of Israel's elders. 70 is an important number. We see oftentimes the number 3, we see 7, we see 40, and now we're seeing 70. 7 is a number that denotes completeness. There is something significant about the chosen of 70 here. And we see God inviting them to come up the mountain. And what does Moses do? He builds an altar, he conducts a sacrifice, and it says in verse 6, he splattered the blood of the sacrifice against the altar. This is the first time Israel is being reconciled unto the Lord. He reads the book of the covenant, he gives the law, and look how the people respond. We will do everything the Lord has commanded. And then notice they are consecrated unto the Lord for service unto him. In verse 8, the blood is being splattered all over the people. In essence, they are receiving the sacrifice. The blood is covering them, and they are becoming fit for service unto the Lord. Once that happens, notice they climb up the mountain. They are able to come into the presence of the Lord. And in verse 10, they see the God of Israel. They see God. He's actually on his throne. That's what this surface of brilliant blue lazuli is. This exists, this precious stone, under the feet of God as he's sitting on his throne. And we see this in other places of Scripture. The most important thing to understand here, though, is that after the blood has covered them and that they have been sacrificed for and their sins have been atoned, they are able to come in to fellowship with God. They see God, and then look what happens in verse 11. They ate a covenant meal, drinking and eating in his presence. They are able to fellowship with God. This is the invitation that God is inviting us today. So what's been your response as God is calling you today and has called you throughout times of your life to come up closer to him, up the mountain? Have you responded, yes, Lord, I'm coming? Have you responded, yes, Lord, I will do everything that you have commanded? Or perhaps you feel stuck halfway up the mountain. Well, notice God invites everyone to come up into fellowship with him. But notice, not everyone came the same distance. The 70 elders and Nadab and Abihu stayed at the base. Notice that Joshua and Moses climbed higher up the mountain, signifying deeper moments of fellowship with him. And Moses climbed the highest of all, seeking the greatest fellowship as he disappeared into the cloud and climbed higher up the mountain. Do you ever wish for times like this, a mountaintop moment with the Lord? Well, hear the invitation that He expresses to you today, that He is inviting you into closer fellowship with Him as He invites you to climb up the mountain. Come up just a little bit more, for He desires fellowship, eating and drinking for you in the Lord's presence. Hear the invitation from God today to keep climbing, to keep pursuing Him, and to keep seeking Him. For He desires nothing more than to fellowship with you at greater peaks. Well, I hope today has been a blessing to you today. Know that the Lord is with you and He is wooing you unto Himself. Everyone, I hope that you have a great rest of the day. Shalom, blessings to you, my friends, and I will see you tomorrow.